Good afternoon, happy Thursday, or good evening if you're on the East Coast, and more power to you because I love the New York area. I love the East Coast. I even like New England today. That's how good I'm feeling today. Welcome to this very special broadcast here on the Jeff Meacham Network. I am, of course, Jeff Meacham, and you already know that because you're on the Jeff Meacham Network and you're watching a very, very classic, if you will, episode of my podcasting history. And it's not really a podcast because it's video too, but we'll go with the word podcast. And there's my girl, Bailey's here. That makes my day because it's been a shitty day. So I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna wait a few minutes to actually start the picture-in-picture, if you will, because I want to give people a chance to come in. I also want to kind of banter a little bit about this. It's very surreal to me that it's been 13 years this day that Talk Wrestling first went across your computer screens or your device screens back. I don't know what YouTube was using. I don't know what I don't remember what smartphones or what kind of device people were using back then. So I appreciate however you watched Talk Wrestling back in 2007, if you did, and if you didn't see Talk Wrestling back in 2007, I must warn you that 2007 Jeff Meacham is kind of a dick. I'm going to be honest with you. He was in a very bad place when he taped this episode. Let me just come right off the top and say that this was really, really fresh off the Chris Benoit tragedy. As you guys are aware, that's how the Talk Wrestling started. It was a very, very bad time in wrestling and in our lives as wrestling fans. It sucked. It absolutely fucking sucked to be a wrestling fan. We were looked down upon. We were cast aside like lepers. We were looked upon as lesser thans because what do you call it? I can't even talk. My brain is not working. Because we were fans of a community that allowed such barbaric and horrible things to happen. And I had been off for a year for the most part. We had finished up XMV in June of 2006. Josh and Lee and I carried the show home along with the girls, of course, doing their part, and Aaron, as only Aaron can, doing his part with NoDQ broadcasts. And I'd done a couple of like NoDQ TVs and a couple of Ringside Insanities with my girlfriend at the time, Jade. My fiance at the time. Actually, at the time this show goes on in July of 2000, we're actually broken up. We are not together as a couple. And I mentioned her in the video, and if she's watching, I'm sorry. But it was a really shitty time, and I really didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what I wanted to say about the thing with Chris Benoit and Nancy and Daniel, because I was so confused that something like this could happen. And then I had the opportunity to watch some of the media coverage, if you will, and quite frankly, it was disgusting to watch. Hang on one second. I am live on the air. I can't move. Sorry. It's like, I'm on the air. I told you I was going live today. Sorry. Anyway, I had the opportunity to see some of the media coverage that was being thrust upon the case, particularly by a lady by the name of Nancy Grace. And if you are familiar with news media at all, back in 2007, Nancy Grace, I believe, was on CNN at the time. I don't remember now. I don't really care, to be honest with you. And she allowed people to come on her show, and other people in her realm of colleagues people went on their shows and pretty much lambasted Vince and lambasted the WWE. And I really come down hard on Mark Merrill on this show. And I look back and regret that now, only because Mark Merrill is doing such good in the world and he's being such a positive person and putting good juju out in the world. So if Mark Merrill gets wind of this particular version of the broadcast, I do apologize to Mark Merrill in advance for what you're about to hear, because I am no punches pulled. I am a outright dick to Mark Merrill in this show. I kind of criticize Finley, which I also regret, because Finley, again, is a super guy, and at the time, I felt that he wasn't the right representative to appear on these media outlets to represent WWE. Looking back, I still believe that. However, I was grossly unfair and kind of cruel in the way I talked about Finley, and that was wrong of me to do that. So, but other now that you're going to see that as part of this stream. Let's see what else. I watched the whole thing. I am very, very critical of the people that ask the questions. There's some stupid ass questions. There's some stupid ass question subjects on this show that you're about to watch back after 13 years. And I was in such a dark place when we decided to do Talk Wrestling that I just didn't care what came out of my mouth, and very unfiltered. Luckily I didn't cross any 2020 lines because I was afraid of that. I was afraid of watching this thing and I would go into a place where I couldn't air part of it because of 2020 2020 what do you call it, hindsight is a good word, obviously, because 2020 hindsight, but like 2020 states of being and 2020 views and 2020 ideals are not what they were back in 2007. So I also want to point out that this is the show that really sent me on the path. Yes, we did Extreme Mayhem, the audio show, for 2 years. Yes, we did XMV for another 2. But it was this show, Talk Wrestling, back in July 2007, that really set me on whatever kind of rocket you guys think I'm on. And I appreciate that you guys support me and you guys love what I do and everything. And it's very appreciated. And it all starts right here. It really does, because I was able to have a forum, just me, nobody else, nobody to have to filter through or, kind of overcome and on camera or on mic or whatever, and just kind of just be myself and give my own views on life. It did expand into interviews. We had RVD on the show, as well as Terry Reynolds in 2008 during the original NoDQ run of Talk Wrestling. And then when I left NoDQ in 2011 and went to the Cost 18 Studios with JJ, who I know is watching, so thank you, Jay. I appreciate you watching. Hope you got the earbuds in at work, because I'm not going to be filtered today. I was able to interview a lot of people on the independent circuit. And also, because of Talk Wrestling in 2007, I obtained my first actual work on the independent circuit. I did not receive formal training. I fully admit that. But it was a gentleman by the name of Gary Yap who gave me an opportunity to stand under his learning tree and really learn and develop a character in the business as a manager, and eventually I became a co-promoter for a indie federation for a while through another buddy of mine, Travis Leland, who I hope is watching. I know he's very busy right now, but it was all because of this show you're about to see right here. This really started the train down the path. This really got me in motion, and it was an unbelievable experience that I got to be a part of over the next with NoDQ with 4 years, and then I was into the Casa channel for a couple of years. I've been back with NoDQ full time since about 2014 or so, in and out. Let's be real, but it's been an amazing, very surreal experience the last 13 years of there was a time, and people laugh when I say this now, but it is legitimately true. I can verify it through other people that were around at the time, but there was a time in the late 2000s, before 2010, and even in 2010, where I would go down and visit JJ and Statboy Mike and everybody at the Casa de Teen apartment, and I would find myself taking pictures at Union Station in Los Angeles and downtown LA, or signing autographs or whatever, because I was the famous Jeff Meacham, and it was just it was very, very weird, very, very surreal to have that infamy, I guess is the best term I can say for it. Thank you all. Let's see who's here. Big G's here. Big G. There would be a Big Baller G without Jeff Meacham. I think that, granted, I hesitate to take credit because when I left the NoDQ channel in 2011, Aaron persevered on without me and became an amazing on-camera presence, and still continues to this day. 9 years later, he's the lead man. He's the boss. He's awesome. On the NoDQ channel, he is the reason we all sit here now as we speak. And so maybe there wouldn't be a Big G without good old JM, but I like to believe there wouldn't be a Big Baller G if it wasn't for Aaron Riff. So I appreciate the compliment thrown my way, but I'm gonna keep it real. Colin, thank you, congratulations, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you became a fan and a family member of NoDQ because of me. That is greatly appreciated that you believe that. I will own that and take credit for that. That's awesome. JJ mentions Chuck E. Cheese. Yes, there is good and bad with the infamy. We had a situation last year where my sister and my nieces and my son and I went to a Chuck E. Cheese, and the gentleman in the Chuck E. Cheese suit was a fan and decided to kind of be a little bit privacy invasive as far as hovering around the table. But you know what? I kind of look at it as it kind of is what it is. I understand that a lot of people don't have boundary standards, and that's everybody's got to be who they got to be. Now, in this day and age, it's a little weird. It's a little hazy to be that kind of person. But I understand that some fans don't know how to turn on, have that filter realized in their own head. So you know what? There you go. All right, we're gonna go about 3 minutes. Wait a minute, did I just hear that word? And then we're going to start the streaming of the original Talk Wrestling episode 1. I am hoping for at least a couple of surprise guests after we finish showing the episode, which is 22 and a half minutes long. So if we start at 3:15, we'll be going till about 3:35, about 3:37, 3:38 West Coast time. So we'll probably go till 4 overall today, just to kind of, put a little bow on it afterwards, but we'll see how things play out as the show progresses, as the stream progresses. Again, this show you're about to see does not represent the views of Jeff Meacham in 2020 necessarily, but very much did in 2007. I was a very, very angry 24-year-old person, and it honestly over the course of the next 9 months, a lot of things changed for me. And a big part of my change into a better person is because of my son being born. And a lot of it is because of this show and the fact that I was able to filter out a lot of my aggression on, unfortunately, you guys, because I was verbally nasty for a long time. And I own that, and I take full responsibility for being a dick. So there it is. We will get going momentarily. Bailey, I love you left that for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. CJ, thank you for being here. Tobias, thank you. Jeff, thank you. Colin, thank you. JJ, I'm glad you're here, brother. We will get going momentarily. So let me just get everything queued up here. Make sure we're ready to go. We are over there. So very good. Okay. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is something I have not watched. I watched it today now to make sure it was okay, but I hadn't watched this the whole way through in a very long time. It was very interesting to watch it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you don't, that's fine too. I understand. I really do, because it's not everybody's cup of tea, and I never was. I never had everybody's cup of tea, and I understand that. So again, you guys like it? Great. Well, I'll maybe air some more in future days. But for now, here it is, the very first episode of Talk Wrestling, July 16th, 2007.
Welcome, everyone, to the first edition of Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com, MySpace, YouTube, wherever you're watching this. You'll notice the magazine cover to my right is Chris Benoit. That's the main topic of today. It's going to be Chris Benoit. I just, thanks to Aaron's DVR, I finished watching Nancy Grace. There are some very, very misinformed people in this world. Nancy Grace is a fucking idiot, first of all. Talking about the fact that Mark Merrow's stage name is Merrow. No. Mark Merrow's stage name is Mark Merrow. That's his real name. That's his stage name, Nancy. Get it straight. Dave Finlay is not a current WWE champion. He was United States champion toward the end of last year, I believe. Maybe even as early as this year. But he has not been champion in quite some time in WWE. What else did she say? She brought on a guy by the name of Mark Merrow, who you all know, Johnny B. Bad in WCW, Mark Merrow in WWE, who hasn't been in a WWE ring in almost 10 years. I'd say about 8 years. And he's going to talk about WWE's drug issue. Mark Merrow is the most misinformed motherfucker I've ever seen in my entire life. And Mark Merrow, I hope you're watching. If you are, please respond. I'd love to hear your response to this. Because I watched you on Nancy Grace, and I cannot believe how badly you came across. You were so misinformed, it was ridiculous. You had a list of 105 wrestlers who have died in the last 10 years for various things. And they pointed out to you, to your face. You heard Dave Finlay say it, and you heard Nancy Grace say it. 5 of them were under contract at WWE at the time. 1 died because he fell from the ceiling because people didn't know how to rig a cable properly. 1 died of suicide. This gentleman right here, Chris Benoit. And Eddie Guerrero. Who else died of heart disease in WWE? Help me out here, cameraman. I don't know. Eddie Guerrero died of heart disease. And Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman died of heart disease, not because of a drug overdose, not because of,
Who was the third? Help me out here, guys.
Cocaine intoxication, like poor Kurt Hennig, God rest his soul. It was very, very funny to watch Mark Merrow try to make his point when he's very misinformed. And my new heroes, people, I'm telling you, Brian Alvarez from Figure 4 Online and the Wrestling Observer, and Ken Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy. I love Mr. Kennedy. He shot on the entire situation. It was great. Ken-Kennedy.com. Read his shoot. It is great because he rips into everybody and well-deserved. And Merrill's response was a joke. It was funny. Oh, God, I love it. It was such fun. A lot of you probably saw my column on the Chris Benoit situation on my MySpace page. For those of you that didn't, I'm going to refer you to my MySpace page, myspace.com/Jeff Meacham, JEFFMEACHAM. And you can read about what I said. I've said my piece on the Chris Benoit thing. I've said my piece on the Nancy Grace thing. So I'm going to get to your questions, a bunch of them. And Aaron just posted this a couple hours ago. People want to see Jeff Meacham. I like that. That's very cool. I appreciate that. Ron, do you think Vince should or will do a Nancy Grace parody of how bad the media is? If he does, he's a fool. I'm sorry. He needs to step away from that. And he shouldn't have sent Finlay to be the WWE representative, first of all. I'm sorry. Finlay was like, and stuff. And, they're doing all this drug testing and stuff. Finlay did not know what he was doing. I love Finlay. I've always loved Finlay. He's a great character. And I understand he's a very nice guy, but have John Cena or, somebody that can speak a little bit more eloquently than Dave Finlay on your shows to represent your company. Because, Nancy Grace tore him apart. She's a crazy bitch. She tore him apart. And it was sad to watch. But, whatever. Okay. Mr. Clean Fan, do you agree or disagree with Mark Merrill's recent media comments about drugs and wrestling and changes needing to be made? I don't agree with the way Merrill presented himself. I think he came across, as I said, as very misinformed. However, changes do need to be made. That's very obvious in the entire wrestling industry because the guys are dying. And, a lot of it is not because of natural causes and not because of, cancer or because of this or because of that. A lot of people are dying because of the drug issue. And that's not WWE's fault at all. WWE is the major leagues. This is very true. However, you cannot blame everything in the world on Vince McMahon. We tried that, 13 years ago. We put the man on trial for steroids. And what happened? He got acquitted. Why? Because he was innocent. Vince McMahon is not the devil incarnate. Mr. McMahon may have been, but Vince McMahon is not. And when the world realizes that, everything will be much, much better. But changes do need to be made. I think the wellness policy is in effect. I mean, Dave Finley himself said on Nancy Grace that there was a drug test last week and he passed. And Benoit passed his most recent test. This was a freak accident. This is a fluke. I mean, everybody that's known Chris Benoit, mild-mannered, calm, cool, collected guy, never raise a hand to anybody, never, raise his voice to anybody, and he flipped out. It's exactly what happened. I've been there. I know what it's like to have somebody drive you to the point where you flip out and strike them. I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying it's right, but it happens. Shit happens in this world. And for what happened with Benoit, obviously he took it to the extreme, and that's all that happened there. Let's see. LaPointe, do you think WWE is too over the top with their storylines and characters? And then when you look at TNA, they hardly have chicks, which is okay because that leaves more for wrestling. They don't use too many backstage junk on their shows. Have you watched TNA lately? They're backstage as much as WWE ever was. What are you people talking about? Oh my goodness. They're entertaining. They have pure athletes and not steroid junkies. Oh, God. Okay. Deep cleansing breath. Let it out. Okay. TNA is a great company. I have no problem with TNA. But they are a sports entertainment company. I don't care what they market it as. Wrestling is not, the way it used to be in the 40s or the 30s. When television came around and started promoting wrestling in the Gorgeous George days, the wrestling industry changed. It's sports entertainment. Vince McMahon admitted it in the 80s, so he could get away with it. Well, that's fake. We know it's fake. And there's not too much backstage stuff. They are backstage for half of fucking Impact. Don't tell me they don't go backstage. Have you watched Impact the last couple weeks? Rated R is saying R.I.P. Danny and wants to know when do you think WWE will start pushing Cena down? Okay. Why would you push down your most marketable star? Would you push down Hulk Hogan in 1987 when he was at the zenith of his popularity? Oh, this guy's really, really over. Let's just squash him like a bug. That is the most stupid question I've seen today. I'll probably get to stupider later, but that's okay. For right now, I'll go with this one. They're not going to push Cena down as long as he's selling merchandise, making movies, going on the TV shows, representing the company very well, which he did on Larry King the other night. He is a very good representative for the company. The guy's an eloquent speaker. He knows how to cut a promo. He knows how to sell merch. He knows he's got the look. Whether he's on steroids or not, he's got the look of a wrestler. His wrestling skills, I'll give you that. They're not that good, but neither were Hulk Hogan's, and look where he is. The most marketable star in the history of wrestling, Hulk Hogan, had a 2-move combination to end his matches. A big boot to the face and a atomic leg drop, brother. And he got over. He was over for 20 years. He's still over. He has a TV show now, for crying out loud, that covers his family because he's so over. John Cena's not going to get pushed down anytime soon. And I was one of the many people that, I hate Cena. He sucks and, he needs to go away. I have changed my mind about John Cena. He is the most marketable guy they have. And if Bobby Lashley beats him for the title at the Great American Bash, it's a travesty. I'm sorry. I did not like Bobby Lashley. I don't think he should be WWE champion. I think John Cena is a more marketable champion. And I think if Lashley beats him, it's a travesty of justice. Paul wants to know, were Ron Killings and Conan justified in quitting TNA? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know the whole story behind Ron Killings and Conan quitting TNA. Apparently something to do with their medical bills not being paid, or they were injured and they weren't getting paid, or whatever it was. Unfortunately, TNA does not have the resources to take care of their injured guys like WWE does. So and from what I understand, Conan was pretty much sucking them dry. He's been hurt forever, and he hasn't wrestled in I don't know how long. He's been a manager for most of this year, if not all of this year. And Conan's been one of those guys that's speaking out against the industry, hasn't he? During the Benoit thing, yeah. I think Conan needs to realize that his time is over. Sorry. He's a nice guy. I met him at the UPW show at Anaheim, whatever it was, 3 years ago. He's a great guy. But his time is done. Ron Killings. We love Ron Killings. He was on Extreme Mayhem with us. He was going to do XMV with us when we were in Florida, but he ended up not being able to do it. I think he needs to get himself better and get his job back because he's great. And hopefully he'll realize that WWE is probably not going to hire him back. So hopefully he'll get his shit together. Philip wants to know, what are your thoughts on Jackass being involved at WWE SummerSlam? And do you think it'll be hurt or help the pay-per-view buy rate? Okay. Jackass. Jackass is a very stupid television show watched by very stupid people. I'm sorry. For those of you that like Jackass, you can turn the mute button on for a few minutes because I'm going to go off on Jackass now. Jackass is America's Funniest Home Videos taken to the ultimate extreme because these guys are purposely filming themselves doing stupid shit. How? It's Phil. I don't care. You can't get any more asinine than the Jackass guys. And for WWE to even consider contacting them and making them part of the main event at SummerSlam, WWE is desperate, and that is sad. WWE is the #1 wrestling company in the entire world, and the fact that they have to draw in these Jackass guys, wasn't TNA doing Jackass stuff a few months ago? Yes, they were. WWE does not need to sink to the level of Jackass by having Steve O and Johnny Knoxville and these other idiots, Bam Margera, and all these other assholes showing up and, doing their Jackass stunts. I will give you this. When I saw Steve-O get his butt kicked by Umaga at the Raw SmackDown Super Show a few months ago, that was awesome because I can't stand Jackass. I love seeing Umaga beat him up, but I don't want to spend $40 on a fucking pay-per-view and watch these guys get beat up. I'll go watch it at a live event or I'll watch it on TV for free. Don't make me shell out $40 to see these Jackasses. I don't want to see it. Rory, I was wondering what you think ECW needs to somehow bring the spark back into it, sort of, so to speak. I think he meant to say so to speak, but then he said sort of speak, so that's okay. Rory, what ECW needs is Paul Heyman booking. He booked he booked the pay-per-views and he booked the first show, and then Vince came in and was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this my way because I'm Vince McMahon." And that's where WWE took ECW into the tank. That's exactly what happened. If they brought back Paul in a creative control capacity and they let them do what ECW used to do, I think they'd be more successful. WWE right now is presenting their version of ECW. Vince McMahon is basically saying, I own ECW, here's my way of doing it. Ha, ha, ha. And that's a mistake. ECW needs to be presented the way it used to be presented. And if they do that, then they'll get the spark back, so to speak. And I hope they do it soon. I hope they realize the error of their ways. I will say, however, making Johnny Nitro the ECW champion was a brilliant booking move. I don't care what anybody says. I love Johnny Nitro, and I think he's a great heel champion. And he's one of the most athletic guys I've ever seen. I loved him in M&M. I loved him as the Intercontinental Champion. I love him as the ECW World Champion. So hopefully, if they start reshaping the booking, hopefully they'll keep him around in ECW and he'll be a star there because he's great. I love Johnny Nitro. JCB, what's your opinion on the new Big Daddy V versus Boogeyman feud and Viscera's new look? Viscera needs to put his shirt back on, okay? Viscera has got some big old man titties. He has not been in shape in his entire life. God bless him. Formerly King Mabel, formerly Mabel of Men on a Mission, formerly Viscera. Now he's Big Daddy V. The man is not in shape. He looks terrible. He should be wearing a shirt at all times. You don't see my fat ass in front of the camera going, oh, look at my titties. No, I don't think so. There's no reason for that. No. I agree with him being a killer. I agree with him being, Big Daddy V. That's fine. But Big Daddy V can put his damn shirt back on. All right. Our next questions, both of them, come from 5-Star Wrestling. He has a couple of questions. His first one is, do you ever think we will see WWE versus TNA matches? Yes. In Booker T's indie fed. We saw King Booker and a wrestler whose name is escaping me right now, against Team 3D the other night. So if you want to see WWE versus TNA, go to Booker's house shows or live events, whatever you want to call them. Other than that, no, because WWE and TNA are competing companies. You're not going to, just like, when we ever see the WWE versus WCW Dream match, yes, when WWE bought WCW, not before. So if WWE ever buys out TNA, then yeah, we'll see it. Otherwise, no. His other question, whatever happened to XPW? XPW, for those of you that have never heard of XPW, and shame on you if you haven't, Extreme Pro Wrestling was originally conceived, I believe, to be the West Coast version of ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. It was run by Extreme Associates, Rob Black. Extreme Associates is a adult film company, and they decided to venture into the wrestling business, and they made a pretty good go of it there for about 4 years or so. Unfortunately, after they did their last shows in California, because they taped in Philadelphia for a while, they did their last shows in California the weekend of my birthday, February 28th and March 1st of 2003. They went back to Philadelphia, did one show, and then they ran into some legal troubles with the federal authorities. Apparently, they were distributing underage pornography, or they were. Oh, you know what it was? It was
neither of these is true. I'll explain when I'm done.
In the state of Pittsburgh, I believe it was, which is like a really big deal. The feds came in and raided the office. A friend of mine, or an ex-friend of mine, actually
also state of Pittsburgh. Yeah, that was good, Jeff.
And
Jesus.
he was there when the feds showed up. Like they basically, he was driving away. The feds were driving toward. And he saw like. It was like 2 or 3 different federal trucks or vans or whatever it was pulled up and raided the office. And that was the demise of XPW, unfortunately. I loved XPW. I loved being able to interview all those people we did over the course of those 2 days. I loved covering it with Mike. I thought it was a great promotion, and it died way too soon. And I would hope that they had like a little bit of a mini reunion at a Battleground show out in Newhall, where I live, or close to where I live, not too long ago. They had a few XPW guys up there. I wish it would come back full time. I wish Extreme Associates would put it back full time. I don't think it's going to happen. That's a real shame. Joshua M. Do you think Chris Benoit should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame someday? I like this question. This is a good question. Thank you, Josh. That is a really sensitive issue, unfortunately, because, it's hard to, until we find out, none of us really know what happened the night, the weekend of the last weekend in June. We'll never really know what happened with Chris and Nancy and Daniel Benoit. But to take away from his career, I think is wrong for 3 days of, lapse in judgment, I guess you could call it, for lack of a better term right now. I think Chris Benoit should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, but it should be
lapse of judgment. Not a good take in 2020. Yeah, I am completely wrong here.
They rushed putting Eddie Guerrero in the Hall of Fame because everybody was like, "Oh,
just bad, Jeff. Bad, Jeff."
It was horrible, and it was. It was horrible that Eddie Guerrero died. I cried for 3 days when Eddie Guerrero died. I did. Ask Jade. She was there. We both were crying for days. Jade's my ex-girlfriend. Those of you who have never seen me before, you'll hear more about her, I'm sure, in the few shows to come. But they rushed putting him in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully they will be smart and not put Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame until many, 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 many years down the road. All right, P. Giddy wants to know, does Kane deserve one more run with the world title, and do you think he'll get it? If he's going to get it, the time is now, honestly. Kane is in the latter stage of his career, from what I understand. And if he's going to win the world title, it's going to be the Great American Bash. If he doesn't win it there, he's probably not going to win a world championship again. Kane is past his time. Kane
2010 world champion and Money in the Bank winner. Yeah, this doesn't age well.
But I think that his time has passed. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. Email me on MySpace or whatever and let me know what you think. But I think his time is done. Craig, if RVD ever returns to wrestling, will it be with WWE or TNA? That's a really good question. I have not talked to Rob in a long time. I wish he would. I wish I could get a hold of him and find out where he's feeling right now. He's taken a well-deserved hiatus. The last year has been very hard on him. He's seen what was his baby, his vision, ECW, along with Paul Heyman, the rebirth of ECW go in the tank because of Vince McMahon and WWE. And I think he wanted a break, and he got it. His contract was up. He's taking a break, and good for him. Spend some time with your wife. I think that if he does come back, he He will likely go back to WWE because it's a more stable paycheck, perhaps. But TNA may be more his style as far as the laid back schedule. However, traveling to Florida, I think, will be a big thing for him because I don't know if he'll want to travel to Florida. But they tape every other week or every other week. I mean, that's quite a lot of travel. I mean, you're there for 2, 3, 4 days, and it's hard to say. I will attempt to contact Rob and let you guys know about that. Nick, why can't TNA do above a 1.2 rating? And what do you think of Bill and Doug's anti-WWE comments on YouTube? Are those two idiots that are so pro TNA and just bash WWE? Those two guys are so fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but they are. They're like, oh, WWE sucks. WWE sucks. TNA
Yeah, not sorry.
Okay, TNA is doing a 1.2. TNA is not better than WWE. I'm sorry. TNA is doing a 1.2 because they're at 9 o'clock on Thursdays. They're opposite like the primetime stuff on NBC and CBS and all the other networks. Okay? TNA is doing a bad rating because they're in a bad slot. Raw's doing decent ratings because they're in a good slot. They've been in that slot for 14 years, roughly, give or take different times here and there. But they've been at 9 o'clock since January of '93. I mean, they're established. TNA is not established yet. They're going to get better ratings when they have a better product and when they have a better time slot. If they get 2 hours, they may get a better rating. TNA's pushing for 2 hours. I think they can fill 2 hours with more wrestling. Stop at the backstage shit. Focus on the wrestling like you guys used to do. That'd be great. Corey wants to know my thoughts on Mr. Kennedy's response to the Benoit media coverage. I think Ken Kennedy is the best guy to have said anything. Ken Kennedy knows what he's talking about. He did his research, obviously, and he posted a very, nice response. Not a nice response. He basically lashed out against the media. But you know what? Good for him. And if I had the thing in front of me, I'd read it verbatim. I would, because Ken Kennedy posted such a great response. Put that idiot Mark Merrow in his place. Mark Merrow had to respond, and he sounded like a dumbass when he did. It was great. I love Mr. Kennedy. It's awesome. JDMeach1 at yahoo.com. JDMEACH1, the number, at yahoo.com. MySpace.com/Jeff Meacham. Give me your critiques. Let me know what you thought. We tried to do a quick format here. Hopefully it went over well. That's it. Good night.
So there you go. There it is, kids. Yeah, that was the first show ever of Talk Wrestling back in 2007. 13 years ago today. That's crazy, right? It's again, a lot of it doesn't age well. A lot of it, I was talking to a few really close friends about this before I went on the air today. I'm a real dick in that episode, and I don't necessarily apologize for it, right? Because you're everybody's a different person, in hindsight. We all look back and we all regret, some of the things that we do or say in our youth. And I'm 24 years old in that shot. I'm not even a father yet. I don't even know I'm going to be a father yet. That's how long ago this is. I was not technically even a father yet. Dylan had not been even conceived at this point. That's how long ago this is for me. So again, I kind of take the show with a grain of salt, and but I do. There are a couple things that are definitely like, ouch. Like Chris Benoit will never be in the Hall of Fame. That is not going to happen. It's just not. There's no way. And we know much, much more on July 16, 2020 than we did on July 16, 2007 about the Chris Benoit situation and what his brain chemistry was like and the situation that was happening at home and everything. And it doesn't matter. When it comes down to it, it does not really matter. Chris Benoit will never be a WWE Hall of Fame inductee. It just will not happen. It is the worst possible PR situation WWE could ever fathom. Ever. Worse than keeping Jimmy Snuka in. Worse than keeping Hogan in. Any of it. It's just bad. And it will never happen. Again, I was hard on Mark Merrow, and I apologize for that now, because Mark is doing amazing things in the community of the world with his motivational speaking and his positive message to the world at large. And I I can't emphasize enough how different a person Mark Mero is in 2020 than he was in 2007, as far as the way he presents himself, the way he spreads the positive word, and he is an amazing guy. And I owe him an apology for the way I talked about him on that show. So there's that. Gotta love picking on John, right? Even back then, I was already starting to come around on John and defend Mr. Cena against the haters and the Cena bashers. But you know what? At that time, he was the guy, and with all due respect to everybody on the roster now, John Cena still has that appeal. John Cena still has that marketability where if he used to come back in, every one of you, all 11 of you in the watching right now, everybody in the chat room right now, if he was to come back and turn heel, you guys would eat that shit up. Because and that's not a critique, that is a fact. That is actually it's an opinion. It's because it's my opinion. But I firmly believe that if John were to come back and turn heel, you guys would eat it alive. It'd be beautiful, and you guys would love life if it happens. So there's that. Kind of the MySpace plugs, right? God, that ages this show drastically. Because goodness, 2 years later, Facebook would be a thing, and off it went to the races. And MySpace is, kind of is what it is. I don't directly know anybody that has a MySpace, so it's just funny to me now. But Jay, I know you got to go back to work, so I appreciate you popping into the chat. So thank you. Stay safe. Again, we've mentioned on the shows, JJ's an essential worker, so he's dealing with the incredible deep mud thick crud of retail work, which couldn't pay me enough to do that shit right now, guy. That's craziness. So Jay is a better person than me. That is for, as far as retail work goes, man. That's crazy. I can't even stress enough how important that is, that you're providing that service for your community and the people around you. So that's very cool. If anybody would like to pop on, I'm still waiting on another special guest. JJ was going to be one of them, but he has to go back to work, as I said. He's clocking in like right now, I think. So I am waiting on somebody else. I'm going to give him until 4, and then we will, or at least until a few more minutes from now, and then we'll go from there. Let me see. Let's see if this works here. I'm gonna try this. Hell with it. Let's see if this works. Why not? I'm gonna FaceTime him. Probably won't pick up. That's okay. I hate the FaceTime buzz. It didn't call. Okay, fine. Well, hopefully he calls. Anyway, so yeah, again, I mentioned this during the intro. That really, as harsh as that show was, it really kind of set me on the path. And here I sit with my own channel, my own network, if you will, doing the audio, doing the video, and really making a go of it. It's really, it's crazy that you guys out there, all of you, have allowed me to live this crazy life. It'll be 18 years total coming up in October, and we're gonna maybe do a if I get my hands on the original show, or at least the first interview of Extreme Mayhem. I don't know if I can broadcast it because there's legalities and whatnot, but we'll see. But I've met an amazing array of people with this career of mine, much more so in the last 13 years because of this show, Talk Wrestling. And it's an incredible feeling to know that I generate opinion, whether it's positive, negative, indifferent, whatever. There's an opinion. There's people talking about little old me, this kid from, a suburb of Los Angeles in California who grew up a wrestling fan, discovered the business at 7 years old, and really just wanted to, express an opinion. And I did that, and I got an opportunity from a wonderful human being who is my best friend in this world now, and Aaron. And he, it's crazy how the world revolves, how the sands of time pass. That everybody I've worked with or met along the way the last 18 years, even when we had our falling out, that wasn't Aaron's fault. I took that out on him. That was my bad. And it really it speaks to the character of Aaron that that I am that he still allowed me back in his plane of circle. And he's just a very forgiving person. He's a very genuine person, and he's awesome. I love Aaron, and I'm grateful to him. So I can't express enough how much the opportunity he gave me, has led me where I am now. So, and all you guys out here, you guys watch me at least 3 times a week now, with the Talk Wrestling on Mondays, the Rewinds, and whatever show I end up doing on Fridays, whether it be Dads on this channel, which, by the way, tomorrow, JJ and I are going to cover our top 10 baseball themed movies, which I had a lot of fun with because I love baseball and I love movies. So there you go. Good stuff. And then, of course, the other Fridays we do the NoDQ.com Wrestling Trivia Challenge with Greg Cherry on the Greg Cherry brand, which, again, I get so many comments. I get so many comments about WTC. I actually got a lot today. There's a thread today that started. Aaron put a thread up on Twitter about somebody challenging, and people kept encouraging me to come out of retirement and take Greg down. And it's like, I don't have an interest. I don't. I had no desire to be that guy in that hot seat again. I'm enough of a hot seat as it is, hosting the shows every other week, trying to come up with questions, trying to, keep the show interesting. Greg is the one that has taken this project and really just, off to the races, because he's the one that got Sarah involved with the voiceover. He's the one that really spearheaded and just encouraged and nagged Aaron to let us do it on his channel. That way we could do it our way, do what we wanted to do with it. And Aaron did, to his credit. He really did. So I don't know where. Oh, that's over here. That's why. You turn that other monitor off. Anyway, but yeah, it's Greg that has allowed me to continue on doing the WTC stuff as a host, and I'm grateful as hell. So, and JJ, to his credit, he and I have had our differences, and we brought him back into the fold. And he and I, we love doing Dads. It's a great show. When we get a recording done, it's a beautiful thing. And when it takes 42 takes, kind of sucks. But it is what it is, as we say on NoDQ and all across my shows. So, anyway, I'm babbling. I will fully admit to having a little liquid courage to do the show today, because, quite frankly, I was a little nervous to do this show because it's a very very aged show 13 years later, but I'm glad you guys seem to enjoy it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback here in the moment. I will appreciate the comments as they come through in the next few days. Stay tuned to this channel tomorrow again for the Dads on Wrestling. We will be doing our top 10 baseball movies. NoDQ.com will have coverage. Is it this weekend of Extreme Rules? I think so, huh? Yeah, this week. Okay, NoDQ.com have Extreme Rules. I will actually be doing a live watch along. I just remember that in this moment. Sunday. Oh, I have to put the time up on Twitter. I don't have the time in front of me, and I don't have the energy to freaking find it. So, but on this channel, Sunday afternoon, an hour before the kickoff show on the WWE Network, I will be live and in color, baby, as the Dream would have said back then, to go over the show with you and watch along with y'all. So come back here Sunday. Definitely come back here tomorrow and check out the top 10 baseball movies from the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling, because I love doing that show with Jay, and baseball been very, very good to me. See you guys next time.